There's this thing that happens when you hit 25 and you're sitting with your girls at brunch, splitting an avocado toast like it's the last piece of bread on earth, and someone casually mentions they just put money into a Roth IRA, and everyone else at the table goes quiet. Not because we're impressed, because we have no idea what that even means, but we're too embarrassed to ask. So we just nod and sip our mimosas and change the subject to something safer, like dating app horror stories. That moment right there, that's the money gap nobody talks about. The one where we're all pretending we have our lives together while secretly Googling what a Roth IRA is under the table. I'm Sophia, just a regular person who's been way too obsessed with figuring this stuff out. Definitely not a financial advisor or anything professional like that. So, obviously, what works for me might not work for you. But I need to tell you what I wish someone had told me back then. Because here's what nobody wants to admit out loud. Women in their 20s are staying broke, not because we're bad with money, not because we're buying too many lattes or getting our nails done too often, or whatever patronizing nonsense the finance bros like to throw at us. We're staying broke because the entire system was designed to keep us confused, ashamed, and silent about money, while the boys got taught this stuff at the dinner table. And I know that sounds dramatic, but let me explain why this actually matters to your real life right now. First thing you gotta understand is that we were literally raised to be polite about money. Like, from the time we were little girls, we got the message that talking about salary is rude, that asking questions about finances is pushy, that being ambitious about wealth is unfeminine or greedy or somehow makes us less likable. Meanwhile, our brothers and male cousins were getting told to negotiate hard, ask for raises, talk about their worth. We got socialized to smile and accept whatever was offered and feel grateful for it. I'm not making this up. There's actual research on this. But honestly, you don't need a study to know it's true because you've lived it. You've felt that weird tightness in your chest when you have to talk about money with your boss, or your partner, or even your friends. That discomfort didn't just appear out of nowhere. It was taught to us. And this plays out in the most frustrating ways when you're in your 20s trying to build something. You get your first real job, and they offer you $42,000 a year, and you're so excited to finally have a salary that you say yes immediately, without even asking if there's room to negotiate. You don't know that the guy who got hired the same week as you with the same degree asked for 48 and got 45. You don't know because nobody talks about it. And now you're starting your entire career $5,000 behind, which doesn't sound like that much until you realize that gap compounds every single year with every raise and promotion for the rest of your working life. By the time you're 40, that initial silence cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. Let me say that again because it's wild. Hundreds of thousands of dollars because you were too polite to ask a question in your 20s. But it gets messier because the broke thing isn't just about salary. It's about how we spend money trying to perform the version of ourselves we think we're supposed to be. And I'm going to be real with you. This one hurts because I did it too. You're 23, 24, trying to look like you belong in professional spaces, and suddenly you're dropping money you don't have on work clothes that fit the dress code, makeup that looks polished enough, getting your hair done because God forbid you show up looking too casual or too ethnic or too anything that might make someone think you don't belong. And nobody told you that half the people in that office are also faking it. They just started faking it earlier or with more money behind them. So you're out here spending $400 a month trying to look like you can afford to be there while your male coworkers roll up in the same 3 button-downs they've been rotating since college, and nobody says a word about it. And then there's the whole thing about emotional spending that nobody wants to talk about honestly. Because yeah, we know retail therapy is a thing, but it's not just about being shallow or materialistic like people love to imply. It's about the fact that we're living in a world that's constantly telling us we're not enough, not pretty enough, not successful enough, not interesting enough, not put together enough. And capitalism saw that insecurity and said, oh, perfect, we can sell you the solution. You're stressed about work? Buy this candle. You're anxious about your relationship? Buy this skincare routine. You're worried you're falling behind in life? Buy this course, this planner, this aesthetic lifestyle package that promises to make you into the girl who has her life together. And we buy it because we're trying to fix the feeling, not because we actually need the stuff. I'm not saying this to judge anyone because honestly, I have a closet full of proof that I fell for this too. I'm saying it because we gotta recognize what's happening so we can stop letting it drain our bank accounts. Here's the thing that really gets me though. We're out here broke in our 20s while simultaneously being told this is the most important decade for building wealth. Like, you're supposed to be saving for retirement, building an emergency fund, investing in index funds, starting a side hustle, paying off student loans, and also somehow enjoying your youth and having experiences and living your best life. And it's like, with what money though? You're making entry-level salary in a city where rent is half your paycheck. You've got student loans breathing down your neck, and everyone's acting like you should already have $10,000 saved by now. Meanwhile, nobody taught us this stuff in school. Nobody sat us down and explained compound interest, or tax-advantaged accounts, or how credit scores actually work. We're supposed to just figure it out while also working full-time and trying to have a social life, and maybe dating, and dealing with all the regular stress of being a young woman in this world. And can we talk about how we're expected to do all this while also being the ones who carry the emotional labor and financial burden of our families? Because I know I'm not the only one who's been sending money home to help mom with bills, or helping a younger sibling with something, or covering costs for family stuff, because that's what you do when you're the daughter who made it out and got the good job. And I'm not saying that's wrong. Family is family. But nobody accounts for that when they're writing those smug articles about why millennials can't save money. They're not factoring in that a lot of us are supporting more than just ourselves on these entry-level salaries. So what do we actually do about all this? Because I can't just rant about the problem and leave you hanging. That would be rude. First, we gotta start talking about money, like actually talking about it. With our friends, with our coworkers when it's safe to do so, with the women in our lives who are a few years ahead of us. Ask what people make. Share what you make. Talk about what you're saving and what you're struggling with. I know it feels uncomfortable because we were taught it's taboo, but that taboo is exactly what keeps us broke. The silence protects the system, not us. Second, we need to negotiate everything. And I mean everything. Your starting salary, your raise, your promotion, the freelance rate, the rent on your apartment, the price of that couch on Facebook Marketplace. Practice saying the number you actually want out loud until it stops feeling scary. Because here's the secret. The worst thing that happens is they say no, and you're exactly where you were before you asked. But most of the time, they say yes, or they meet you somewhere in the middle, and you just got yourself more money for literally just asking the question. Third, we gotta get honest about emotional spending. And I don't mean you have to stop buying things that make you happy. I mean you gotta start asking yourself before you buy something, am I buying this because I actually want it, or because I'm trying to fix a feeling? Sometimes the answer is both, and that's fine. But when you start noticing the pattern, when you realize you always online shop after a bad day at work, or you always buy new clothes when you're feeling insecure, that awareness is the first step to changing it. And fourth, start learning about money in whatever way doesn't make you want to fall asleep. Maybe that's YouTube videos. Maybe that's podcasts. Maybe that's following some finance accounts that actually talk like humans. You don't have to become an expert overnight. You just need to start understanding the basics so you can make better decisions with what you have right now. Look, your 20s are messy, and that's okay. You're not supposed to have everything figured out. But you also don't have to stay broke just because the system was designed to keep you that way. You're allowed to want more. You're allowed to ask for more. You're allowed to learn about money and get good with money and build wealth without feeling like you're being greedy or unfeminine or whatever other garbage narrative they tried to feed us. The real reason women stay broke in their 20s is because we inherited a bunch of shame and silence around money that was never ours to carry in the first place. But here's the good news. You can put that down anytime you want. Start today. Start messy. Start scared. Just start. Because the version of you at 35 is going to be so grateful